Hey folks, this is Brian here with Survival on Purpose, and today I thought it'd be a good day to talk about fire. It's kind of cold here in Georgia, and it's in the high 20s, low 30s, so I know for a lot of you guys, you folks up north, that's probably not cold at all, but for a Georgia boy, that's pretty chilly. So I've been wanting to make several videos about fire, and this is going to be one of them. We'll talk about some fire starters and compare some different fire starters. So let me readjust the camera and we'll just get right to it. Okay, so I've got here several different fire starters, and first one on here, which I guess is going to be on the right, is Ultimate Survival Wet Fire. And next to that, I've got the Mini Inferno from Dave Canterbury's website, Pathfinder store. It comes in a little tin like this, which is pretty cool. So when you get finished, you've got a tin you can use to make char cloth or something. Next to that, I've got Live Fire, and it's in a little reclosable. What I like about this one is it's reclosable, reusable. So when you finish using it, as long as you don't, my hands are cold. As long as you don't get it where you can't get to it, you can close it back up. Next, we have the Micro Inferno, which this is also from the Pathfinder website. And then we have good old cotton ball soaked in Vaseline, which I made. Works really well for me. And then last of all, these things are called Strike Fire, and they actually came in an Adventure Medical Kits Pocket Survival Pack, which is right here. Maybe I'll do a review on that one sometime. And they're meant to be lit with this little striker right here. So I'm going to actually, these are all supposed to work if they're wet. So I'm going to get a little bit of water, and I'll be right back, and we'll go ahead and dunk these things and see how well they light then. Okay, so what I thought I would do is go ahead and just light these things with a ferro rod if I can, just to show you how that works. Okay, the first one I'm going to check, and I've just got a half of this one, and this is the Mini Inferno. So I tore it in half. I'm going to take it, just dip it in the water. So it's good and wet. Now, what you're going to do is, obviously you want to shake it off a little bit. Just take your knife and scrape it up to get to the underneath fibers. Make them good and fibrous. So you got a lot of fibers exposed, a lot of surface area there. It scrapes it all up really good. I'm going to turn around, don't cut my hand. And grab a ferro rod, and let's see if we can get this thing to light. There we go. It'll burn quite a while. So I'm going to push it to the side. Okay, next on the list, at least for my favorite, is Live Fire. That's Live Fire. This is the Live Fire Sport. This is about $6.99, and they have a larger model which is $9.99. My hands are kind of cold, but what I like about this is you can open it obviously and reuse it. You can see it's already been burned. So, but in the interest of fairness, I'm going to take this and stick it in the water. So obviously that thing's wet. Let's just shake as much moisture as we can get out of it. It's kind of a not fair comparison with some of the other ones because this is actually down in the metal, so there's gonna be some water contained in this tin, but we're gonna go ahead, see how well it does. So it's the same principle. You want to scrape this thing up, rough it up, expose some of those fibers underneath there, and you got them exposed up. I'm gonna take your ferro rod, if I can find it. Here we go. Take your ferro rod, and the correct way is to hold your knife still, scrape the rod. Okay. Well, my technique leaves a little to be desired, but you can see how easily it lights And this thing will burn with the top off. It says it'll burn for 30 minutes solid. You can see how the Mini Inferno has been burning for a long time now. What I like about the live fire is you can actually close it up when you're done with it and put the fire out and use it again. And you can actually also use it like a candle. So that's the live fire. Okay, so next up we have the Micro Inferno from the Pathfinder store. It's a little red one. It's a lot smaller, a lot more dense. We're gonna give it the old water test again. Put it in the water, shake it off. Actually, probably if I was in a survival situation, I'd be drying this off on my clothes as best I could. So that's what we're gonna do. Give ourselves every opportunity to succeed. So what I'm gonna do with this thing is just kind of break it. Try to expose as many of these fibers as I can. And then maybe you don't want to do is cut your fingers off here. That would not be good. So we're going to open up like that. I'm going to see if I can hit it with my less than perfect ferro rod technique. Set that piece aside for later. And let's just try and see. Maybe I need to aim better. It's not much of a target for me with my technique, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it a little bigger. And we're going to use the little hacksaw blade that comes with the ferro rod to try to get a little better aim. Okay, in all fairness, that one got wet. So I'm going to try one that's not been wet just to see if it makes a difference. Okay, so lit right up that time. Part of it's probably my technique. Part of it's probably that maybe this thing was really, it just definitely feels wet on the inside. So I've actually just opened it up to another part. So give myself a second shot and give the Firestarter a second chance and see if we get it lit this time. That might have been what I was. Look at that. So it's obviously my technique, but you can see that that one was the wet one, that was the dry one. Because we kind of folded it open to expose the layer inside, and it lit up fine. So that is the Micro Inferno, and please don't judge the product by my lousy performance. That's the Micro Inferno. Next up's the wet fire cubes. These are a little different. They are not a wax impregnated kind of fabric, any kind. They're like a tube of this very compact, like almost like a sugar cube. Now what they recommend is doing little shavings off of it and making a pile. But it's supposed to be wet fire, so we got to get it wet, right? That's just the way it works. Then, now that it's wet, and it's pretty wet, it's not wet enough to dissolve. We're going to dry it on my pants leg real quick, just to kind of get most of the water off, because that's what I would do in a real situation. Then they recommend shaving it to the inside to open up some dry stuff. So we're going to do that. I'm going to chop a little pile here. You want to kind of mash it up, crumble it up, make them probably as tiny and small as you can get them. So you got a little pile here. Now hopefully there's enough dry mixed in with there. Let's see what we get with the ferro rod. There we go. So you saw it was really wet, and what's good about it is we got that much left, and we started with just a piece of a cube. That little pile burns for a long time. They actually say that you may need a whole cube if your wood that you're trying to light is really wet. There's a 12 pack in here for they're about 10 to 12 bucks. 12 pack, depending on where you get them. I'll put some links underneath the video to all these. That's wet fire and works really well. What's good about it, you can reuse these things. They'll stay up to 30, 60 days, I think, as long as you keep them sealed up. So I just put them in a bag. Okay, next is my old standby. This is the least expensive of all the fire starters we're talking about today. And this is a cotton ball impregnated with Vaseline. Impregnated, how you like that word? This is just soaked in Vaseline. You basically take some, make sure you get 100% cotton balls and some Vaseline or petroleum jelly, and just basically have a gooey party and wad them all up and soak them in petroleum jelly. And these are pretty well soaked. You may not want to get them quite this much. A lot of people recommend leaving some dry on the inside. These have been, I've had these a pretty good while, but we're going to drop them in the water. So it floats, if you notice. I'm going to take it out once again, kind of dry it off of my pants, because that's what I would do in a real situation. And then take your knife and break it apart to the inside. Try to get to some dry cotton that after you just dropped it in the water. And we'll see how well this works. I really don't know how well it's going to work being underwater. I've never really used them wet before. So this is a brand new test for me. Let's see how she works. Well, if it was going to work, it would have worked then. So, just to show you how well it does burn, if you would like to see it even soaking wet, once you get it going, it'll go. I would call that pretty much a fail for the cotton balls. Everything else was pretty successful. Cotton balls, again, as a straight up fire starter, once you get them working, once you get it lit, you see it burns for a long time. The Vaseline acts like a fuel, petroleum jelly, but from a wet standpoint, didn't work too good with the ferro rod. So that's a cotton ball, and pretty cheap. Okay, well finally we got this strike fire, and it's in the survival kit, and it's designed to be lit with a sparker. I'm not having much luck with water, so I'm gonna so this, it comes with this little sparker. It's like a little flint and steel kind of sparker wheel, like on a lighter. So we're gonna try this and see how well this works. Maybe fray this thing out a little bit first. It's a little waxy, but it's not really. Okay, well it caught. It was very, very, very fine motor skill task to light this little striker. If your hands are much colder than mine are right now, you're not going to get this lit. So this would not be my go-to only source. If this is your only source of fire and you're in cold weather, you might have a problem. So, okay, so that's several very popular fire starters, and once again, the pricing on those typically are, you can find these on Amazon or other places. The Ultimate Survival Wet Fire is about $9 for a dozen on Amazon, and You can see we used only a small portion of that, and it burned for a pretty good while. So you could definitely get a lot of fires out of that, out of the $8 or $9 that it cost. Next on the list was a mini Inferno, and that was from Dave Canterbury's the Pathfinder store. Comes in this little can. It's $8 for 6 of them, includes the can, which is really handy to have because you can use this for a lot of uses later. After that was the live fire. Like I say, this is the Sport, $6.99. A little larger one is $10. The Micro Inferno, which I wasn't really thrilled with, honestly, is $8 for 12 pieces. That's the little red ones. Here's a half one. And again, could be just my technique. You can see how much denser that one is. So it's just almost really, maybe I didn't spend enough time chipping it apart. It's really, really hard. Spark light, I found those $8 for eight with a little spark lighter. And yeah, you know, not real thrilled with that, to be honest with you. And then the Vaseline with cotton balls didn't work too good after I dunked it, but basically a couple bucks, you can make about 100 of them. Okay, and there's several other commercial fire starters out there. This is just the ones that I happen to have and that are very popular. Honestly, my favorite two is probably going to be the Micro Inferno and the live fire, with wet fire coming in a very, very strong third. Okay, folks. Well, that's my quick review on several commercial fire starters and one homemade fire starter, the Vaseline soaked cotton balls, which didn't fare too well. You saw the Mini Inferno is my favorite one, I think, just because I like the little tin. Although my new live fire, I just got this, is running a really close second. Either one of these would be a great value, great purchase. They're both about the same price. This is about $6. This is about $8. 30 minutes versus, I don't know, this is probably several hours on this one. So you probably get a bigger bang for your buck here. I do like the reusability of this and the fact you can close it up. The wet fire cubes are also really good. You can reuse them. And you know, everything was really good. Again, these are just my best choices. And I hope this has been helpful. This is Brian with Survival on Purpose. I appreciate your watching. Appreciate your clicking the little thumbs up thing down bottom if you like this video. I really appreciate your subscriptions, and thanks for telling everybody you know about my channel, and telling your friends if you like it. And if you got any videos you'd like to see me make, or anything you'd like to see me cover, just leave a comment below and I'll do my best to take care of it. Once again, this is Brian with Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident. See you next time.